All right, we're ready to go. All right, we're going to start solving quadratics. This is going to pretty much take us our entire week and pretty much our 8 days that before we get into our spring break. We are going to solve quadratics. We've been working a lot with quadratics. We've factored quadratics. We've graphed quadratics. We've done applications of quadratics. Now we're going to solve them. So when we go to this whole process of solving quadratics, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be looking for the zeros of the function. Now graphically, I know you all know where to find them. So if you notice you've got the function y equals x squared plus x minus 12, and I say what are the zeros? First of all, you would tell me how many of them are there? 2. Where are you looking? The x-axis. Exactly. So the zeros of the function, we know another name for them, oh my markers are dying, are the x-intercepts of the function. And in this case, yes, we have 2 of them. One right here, one right here. Pretty darn easy to see. We would write them as an ordered pair. And it looks like we've got -4, 0 and 3, 0. Now, the difference is between what we've done before and what we're going to do now is we're not going to use the graphing calculator to help us find the zeros. We can certainly let it help us check our answers, but we're going to solve these algebraically. First method is going to be factoring. And in order to use this particular process when we factor, we have a name for it. We're going to use this thing called the zero product property. Shouldn't be a stretch, should be somewhat common sense. If you just think about it, if I take anything and I multiply it by 0, what's going to happen? Absolutely. So I can take a whole host of numbers, but as long as one of them is 0, my answer is going to be 0. So the zero product property pretty much states if you have at least 2 things equal to 0, then either one of the terms, in this case A, has to be 0, or B has to be 0. And Tony, I'm going to put that onto you to go grab that door. Okay? So if we know that 2 factors have a product of 0, then we know at least one of the factors must be equal to 0. And that's the zero product property. Thanks. So let's go back to this guy up here. This x squared plus x minus 12, the y equals. If we're finding x-intercepts, and we're on the x-axis, what's true about every point on the x-axis? It equals 0. What equals 0? The y value. You got it. So if we're going to find this algebraically, I'm going to get rid of the y, and I'm going to put a 0 in its place. And here's where your skills come in, because we're going to take this particular function, this quadratic function, and we're going to factor it. And of course, we're going to go through all of our processes of factoring. First thing I'm going to ask myself, does this quadratic have a GCF?
No.
Nope. How many terms are there?
3.
How do we factor with 3 terms? The x. Now, is this going to be a short trinomial? Is this a shortcut problem, or is this a long one where we have to do backwards box or grouping? Short. We know that because the number in front of x squared is 1. What goes on the top of my x? -12. What goes in the bottom? 1. Yeah, don't bring the x, just bring the number. So you're looking for 2 numbers that multiply to give you -12. But we know those 2 numbers that you pick have to add up to give you 1. Again, if you're not sure of your factors, you have a new cheat. You go to the y equals screen. I'm going to clear out the stuff that's in there. I'm going to put -12 in, divided by x, into my y equals screen. I'm then going to use the table, second graph, and all of these values, I'm going to ignore anybody that has a decimal. I'm only looking for whole number values. And I'm going to scroll through my list and find which pair of whole number values will add up to give me a positive 1. Now, -4 and 3 look good, except they add up to give you a -1. If that's the case, look for their opposite pairs. Oops. There I want -3 and 4. And you've got your ordered pair. Double check. -3 times 4 does give me -12. 4 plus -3 gives me 1. And you've got yourself a quickly factored function. Now, how do we go from here to get these answers, which we know are the zeros of the function? Well, this is where this zero product property comes in. You have two things right here that are multiplied together. They equal 0, which means one of them has to equal 0 in order for this to be true. So our new step that we're adding once we're factored, if we're equal to 0, we're going to take each individual factor and we're going to set them equal to 0. So x minus 3 equals 0, and our other factor of x plus 4 equals 0. And now we just go to our mad solving skills here, and we're just going to get x by itself. To get x by itself here, we do what? Plus 3. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides. What about the other one? Minus 4 from both sides. And take a moment and take a look. Look at your answers that you wrote here from the picture. Look at your answers that you've got here from solving. Are they the same thing? They should be. These right here are your zeros or your x-intercepts. So if we factor it, here are our factors. Set our factors equal to 0, you'll find your x-intercepts. Cool, exciting, right? Questions? Fabulous. I'm going to stop that one.